Okay, let's be real for a second. When you hear the word favela in Rio de Janeiro, what's the first image that pops into your head? For a long, long time, the headlines have just given us one story, and it's usually a pretty grim one. Well, today, we're going to go way beyond all that noise. We're going to find the real, hidden heartbeat of these incredible communities.
Yeah, what if that whole story you've been told isn't the real story? What if it's not just about what you see in the news, but about a world that is absolutely bursting with art, with resilience, and just this incredible passion for life? Come on, let's dive in and find out.
All right, so to really get what the favelas are all about, we've got to rewind the clock, because you can't understand Rio without understanding them. Their story is the story of the city. So these communities didn't just appear out of nowhere. The very first one, way back in the late 1800s, was actually started by soldiers who came back from a war and literally had nowhere to live. Then fast forward to the 40s and 50s and bam, explosive growth. People flooded into the cities looking for work, and they had to build their own homes. For a long time, the government's response was, well, it was to try and tear them down, just bulldoze them. But by the 90s, things started to shift. People realized you can't just erase communities, so the focus changed to upgrading them. This whole history, it's all about struggle for sure, but also about incredible adaptation. And look, we're not talking about a small group of people here. Over 8% of the entire country's population. That's more than 16 million people. To put that in perspective, that's more people than live in the entire country of the Netherlands. So no, favelas aren't some footnote in Brazil's story. In so many ways, they are the story. They're the heart of the country.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, let's zoom in. Let's look at probably the most famous favela on the planet, Rocinha.
Just look at that number, around 100,000 people. Seriously, think about that. Rocinha isn't a neighborhood, it's a city within a city. It has its own economy, its own rules, its own unique vibe and rhythm. Okay, now this is where one of the biggest myths about favelas just gets completely shattered. You might think, oh, there's no infrastructure. But look at this data. Even back in 2010, nearly every single home had electricity. Garbage collection was over 95%. So no, these are not places that are just totally cut off. These are communities that have organized and fought to get the services they need.
So, it really boils down to this. The misconception is that these are just chaotic, lawless slums. But the reality? It's something else entirely. We're talking about complex, self-built communities with their own systems. You've got mototaxis buzzing around like a circulatory system. You've got schools, health clinics, stores. I mean, it's a whole functioning, vibrant economy.
And this is where the story, for me, gets really, really cool. Because these communities are doing so much more than just surviving. They are literal powerhouses of culture. Culture that has exploded and gone global.
I mean, have you heard of funk karaoke? Of course you have. That sound, that raw, explosive energy, it was born right here in the favelas back in the 80s. And today, it's a worldwide phenomenon. You hear its influence in music from massive stars like Beyoncé and Brazil's own superstar, Anitta.
And what about the dance? You've got passinho, this mind-blowing style that mashes up samba, funk, and breakdance. It was invented on the spot by kids in the favelas. And it's so important, so unique, that it was just officially named a cultural heritage of Rio. I mean, how amazing is that? Talk about pure creative power coming from the ground up.
And it's so much more than just music and dance. The street art is incredible. It turns these winding alleyways into vibrant open-air art galleries. And Carnival? So many of those jaw-dropping samba schools that the whole world watches, their roots are right here. You've got capoeira, you've got powerful hip-hop artists telling their stories. Look, culture doesn't just exist in the favelas. It is forged there.
So where does all this incredible creativity come from? Well, it's born from something even deeper. It comes from a powerful sense of community, of resilience. It's innovation that's born out of pure necessity.
This quote, man, it just says everything. And it's a real story from Rocinha. Artists in the community saw a barricade, a symbol of conflict and division, and they painted it. They transformed it with vibrant colors into a monument of hope. That right there, that is the spirit of the favela in a nutshell. And you see this spirit everywhere. People aren't just sitting around waiting for someone to come and fix things. They're creating their own solutions. So the electricity's unreliable? Okay. A group in one favela started a project called Revolucionar.
It's a cooperative that puts solar panels on rooftops. The result? Clean, reliable energy and local jobs. It's just an amazing example of self-sufficiency.
And they're not doing it all alone, either. There's this whole ecosystem of amazing organizations working on the ground. You've got Afro Reggae, you've got Sufa, you've got Favela Brass, all of them using art, music, and culture to empower people and open up new doors.
So this all sounds incredible, right? But how can someone from the outside actually see this reality? Well, that brings us to tourism. And look, it's a tricky subject, but when it's done the right way, it can be a powerful tool for changing the whole story.
Now this might be the most surprising thing you'll hear today. So many people who take these responsible tours, the ones that are actually led by residents, they report feeling safer in the favela than they do in Rio's main tourist areas. Think about that. These tours put money directly into the pockets of the community, and just as important, they shatter those old, tired myths, one person at a time.
So, we've kind of come full circle, haven't we? The untold story of Rio's favelas, it's not just a story of poverty. It's a story of deep, complex history, of a culture that's so vibrant it's impossible to ignore, and of a resilience that is just profound. It's life, raw, and real. So I'll leave you with this question. After seeing all this, what perception of yours has changed?